Well, g'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. Alright, tonight we're making a leaf keyring. Now I've done a short on this and it's been pretty successful, so I figured I'd do a longer version of it. Alright, now I'm starting with one of my failed attempts at making a pair of tongs. May as well use the steel. So that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to forge down the end first for the stem on the leaf. Then I'll cut it off and forge the actual leaf in. We'll then hook around the eye and then put the detail on the leaf, because I've got to hold it in different places at different times. So I want to make sure that I'm not ruining the details by holding it where I put detail in. Alright, it's enough talking. Let's fire up the forge and get going. Okay, we're going to start with a nice hot piece of stock, and with half on half off blows, just going to form a set down on it on two sides. So just nice big hits, just driving it down. We're setting it down and tapering it down. Let's speed things up a little. Okay, as it gets too cold, just going back in, warming it back up and coming back out. So I'm just tapering it down square to start with. If you have a look at my tapering video, setting down and tapering, I will post a link up for it, and you can have a look there with some detailed instructions on how to do that. So yeah, we're just tapering down square to start with, drawing out that tip a little bit more just so it's nice and fine out there. And then we're going to start knocking the corners off it and just rounding it up. So just rolling it as a hammer to round it up. You can see how much longer that little inch-long piece of metal got. Okay, now we're just going to cut it off on the hot cut. Okay, next up we want to go back in with that end, and we want to forge a taper on the end of it. This is why we can't go too thin on the stalk, because it ends up bending a bit as you're forging. So we're just forming a two-sided taper just to give us the point on the end of our leaf. Just want to bring that back nice and long. Okay, then on the anvil, on the angle, and flat and hammer down. And then tapering off the edges. That way we've got a bit of a ridge in the center, a bit less on the edges, and the stalk's got a nice transition. Okay, we're just bending a little hook, and that's going towards the back, forming over the shape on the edge of the anvil and around the horn, just to get the majority of the shape in there. Okay, now using a pair of round nose pliers just to pull everything across into place. Just find a little easier to try and use the round nose on this. I don't have a big iron, which would make it easier to do by hammer. Once we've got it to shape, we'll just go over the horn of the anvil and knock it back to try and get it nice and round. Quick brush off. Just want to knock it flat just to get the final shape. Okay, now we have our shape all set, we can start putting our texture in. So I'm just using a straight peen hammer and just working my way up from the back of the leaf, just slowly chipping in little chop marks, and that will give us some texture to the sides of the leaf. Just turning the piece as I'm hitting, and there you go, you can see that texture that it's put in. Okay, last up we're going to use the blacksmith third hand, so the tongs in between the legs, hot cut chisel and a hammer, and we're just going to put a center vein in the leaf. Just two cuts, nice firm hit. There we go, there is our centre vein. Okay, getting into the finish now, and we are just going to bring it out at a mild heat. Use a wire brush and just clean it all off as it cools down. We want to get it, keep clean until it comes down to a black heat, just so that we're getting all the scale off it. Alright, next up I am doing something that is my first time doing it, and I'm using a copper brush to put a copper finish on it. In the last video I'd done a brass brush. This time I'm using the copper just to try it out, and the whole idea is using the heat of the steel to melt the metal on it and put a thin coat on. If your metal's too hot for this process, then it won't leave anything there because it'll just burn off, and if it's too cold, it's not going to melt the metal. And so it's just a matter of just keep brushing as it cools down. Right folks, there we are, all done. There is our little leaf key ring done with a copper finish. As you can see, the copper doesn't come out too brightly. There's hints of the red there, but yeah, it's not a super high finish, that's for sure. There's our one done with a brass brush. As you can see, it stands out a bit more. This has had a couple of coats, well, it's had one coat, still needs another coat of just the sealer on it. And there's one that's just a polished leaf. So there we go, that is the three finishes, and that is 3 leaves, which happen to be gifts for the girls next door for Christmas, even though it's running a little bit late. Right, thank you very much everyone for watching. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit that little bell notification so you know when I've got further blacksmithing, gardening, or any of the other videos I do. Again, thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.